Pardon?
Tempo.
Yeah, it is. So the Michigan Works Service Center in Traverse City is at 1209 South Garfield.
Okay.
So yeah, it used to be the Tempo. It was Whitmark for a while. There was a La Senorita out front or kind of off to the corner, but they took it down.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. There is a fitness center right next door. Yeah.
Okay, so I've seen it.
Yeah, yeah. We do all of our talent programming, most of our talent program under the Northwest Michigan Works brand. You're welcome.
What is under your talent development? What does OS stand for? OS
Reentry, offender success.
Offender success.
Mm-hmm. So those are individuals leaving the prison system and coming back to this community. Any other questions on the talent services that we provide?
One time you took donations for business attire, and you had quite a bit there for a while. Is it, or does it need to be updated, or how does that go?
We haven't had a career closet in a while. We now use vouchers for places like Women's Resource Center, Goodwill. Even Meyer has donated some vouchers at times to get people interview clothing. Okay, the next section is our business development section. That's in the blue, and we do a variety of things to help businesses. And I'll draw your attention to page 12. That's our apprenticeship program. I've been highlighting that with everywhere I'm going in these last 6 months because I'm really proud of this program. We serve as an intermediary between the business who wants to adopt an apprenticeship program and the U.S. Department of Labor. And a lot of this is non-traditional. So it's not necessarily run through a union. It is well beyond the trades. We have just a wide variety of apprenticeship programs. We even have one for paramedic with the Leland Township Fire and Rescue. We have firefighter, we have winemaker, we have medical assistant, we even have beekeeper. We have just a real wide variety. Let me see. We have food batch maker and production cook apprenticeships at Cherry Republic. We have hotel associate and lodging manager with Fountain Point Resort, landscape management technician as well. So just a wide variety of apprenticeship programs that really benefit both the employer and the worker, because they are earning a wage while they're learning, and they get a nationally recognized apprenticeship credential when they complete their program.
How is that funded, or what's the funding?
We braid a variety of funding for it. We do have some special grants specifically for it that we've recently received. And we try to funnel it into businesses that, are really interested in investing in their workforce. So most of the time we start with the business and they have someone on their staff they want to train up. So they have a career pathway, and then they backfill that position as well. Any other questions? There's a variety of other business programs. We support businesses with diversifying their markets, whether it's international trade or government contracting. Also accessing grants so they can upgrade their technology with Industry 4.0. So that's our business programs. And then community development, we work with a variety of municipalities around the region, doing master plans, strategic economic plans, and so forth. But I'm most proud of our regional projects because, they're addressing some of the highest need issues. A project that we recently completed was a regional childcare plan, looking at this as a major crisis in our region and everywhere, really, and looking for opportunities to address that crisis. There's a set of solutions that were recommended that we're now looking at action planning. And they range from tactical, like helping some of our collaboratives create substitute pools so that they can fill sub positions, which is really hard to do, something we've heard from the providers. Another solution that has come forward is apprenticeships, actually. So going back to that other service, we do have early childhood educator apprenticeship programs started with several different childcare providers. Many providers have told us that they can't hire, so they can't max out their licensing capacity. So because of the ratios that are required. So if they can hire through an apprenticeship, they can add 6, 7, or 8 more slots, depending on the licensing and the type of childcare they're offering, which, that's more slots that we need.
Do you go to the high schools and tell kids what the opportunities are with you?
Yes. If you go back to page 5, we have a variety of youth programs, and one that we highlight often is this Jobs for Michigan's Graduates, where we have partnerships with all of the intermediate school districts around the region. And we have shared positions that are in the high schools doing not only career exploration, but also there's a whole soft skills curriculum that teaches young people things like personal accountability, how to dress in the workplace, how to write a resume, how to interview, communication skills when they're working on a team, leadership opportunities, and so forth. So that's one we really recognize as a high need, because one of the main things we hear from employers all over the place is they want people with those soft skills. And I think if it starts early, it's a much better opportunity to teach people.
I looked at your local projects and your regional projects and
In the community development section?
yeah. And there's very little in Leelanau County.
Mhm.
I'd like to just ask a question about what impact Networks Northwest is having for our county, and how might we better use your services? And why are some of the local planning commissions using your services for planning?
Right. So those local projects are fee for service. So we are hired as consultants to facilitate those planning processes. We recognize that that's competing with the private sector. And so we don't go out and promote, we don't seek out solicitations, but if a municipality reaches out and wants us to submit a quote and a plan, we will. And then if they select us through their bidding process, we will do the work. And really, one of our main focuses when we do this work and the regional projects is community engagement. We go well beyond the typical, hold a community input session in a government center once or twice. I had some staff in, I think it was East Jordan recently on a Saturday where they're doing a hazardous waste collection opportunity, and they were handing out QR codes to people to do a survey for a local economic development plan. So just really, it's hard to get public input on planning process is, but we really believe in it, so we're try. But those are our local projects. The regional projects are typically funded by larger grants, federal grants, state departments, and so forth. And those usually cover the full 10 counties. And in that case, we do, we have concerted effort in every one of our counties to engage the stakeholders that are relevant to that project.
How could we more, I mean, is this out to the townships? I mean, obviously.
Yeah, it should be.
They do serve as the staff for this, an item that's on our agenda later, I believe, is the driver's transportation coordinating initiative.
Yes.
They are the staff for that. So I mean, we'll be talking about a couple of appointments later on in our meeting. So
Yeah, and that's,
one thing that's, I don't think it's on your list at this point.
no, but it's on page 18. It's, look, there's a full write-up on it.
So how do we reach out to townships and let them know what you do?
I'll have to ask. To find out. We do convene the planners regional advisory council. So every planner for any municipality in the region is invited to come. We haven't had a lot of great attendance lately. After COVID, you know, things have dropped off, but we convene to talk about shared challenges in planning projects, and usually have some sort of educational session as well.
Any other questions for Jane?
Just a couple of quick ones. Back in the day, they used to do the retreat party on Beaver Island with alcohol and all that. And we got that stopped. You haven't reconvened that practice again? Still not? Okay.
Not at all. We're having a study session coming up for our board
In town.
in Traverse City. Yes.
Second question is, if the employees still have vehicles,
Yes.
then they drive them home and drive them, et cetera. So the personal miles are taxable. And
Yes.
so for a number of years, I've asked for that report on basically what are the employees, how many miles are they being taxed on with the company car? And we never did that. So
Okay. I'll take a look. I know we have a formula that looks at miles driven each month. And if it's over a certain threshold, it's financially better for us to give them a fleet vehicle rather than do the IRS mileage reimbursement.
right.
So we calculate that on a regular basis. And then I do know that they're taxed on a certain number, but I will find that out.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thanks for what Northwest does.
Yes, thank you.
I'm most impressed with the programs that the managed.
Yeah.
What's your mission to work?
Yeah, thank you. We're proud of that too.
You have a good relationship with the intermediate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, somebody we all know, Yarrow Brown, is back with us to give us an update on Housing North and everywhere I go in the county, I see Yarrow, so thank you.
I get around. I think I have a presentation coming up, but while that's coming up, I wanted to just make the connection between Housing North and Networks Northwest. They are one of our founding partners. So we were born out of Networks Northwest 10 or so years ago. Does anybody remember the Grand Vision? Okay, so we are actually one of the few action items from the Grand Vision. And so then we separated from Networks Northwest around 2020 and became our own 501c3. We have the same regional footprint, but our lens is just to focus on housing. So I just wanted to make that connection. Okay, she's got it up here. So I'm here today to give you an update because we have a contract for services with you on our Housing Ready program. And I hope to come back in November because we're also working on some exciting things that we'll share with you, and I'll touch on those. But we will have more information coming up. So next slide, please. This just kind of reminds you of who we are and what we do. So our mission is to work in all 10 counties, but we're focused in Leelanau County to help remove the barriers through housing. And if you go to the next slide, we do these through 3 buckets. So we focus on communications and awareness, policy and advocacy, and then capacity and resources. So the Housing Ready program, while it touches all 3 of these, really is the capacity piece where we have been able to bring a Housing Ready program. We're just entering our 3rd year. So we're kind of closing year 2, entering our 3rd year with Leelanau County. So I'll highlight some of the work we've done and then what we're going to be continuing to do. Next slide, please. So these are the numbers. We have a new dashboard and you'll see some negative dashes there because we haven't filled them in yet, but on our website, you can go to just Google housing dashboard and it should bring up information for the region and each county. And over this last quarter and into the first quarter next year, we hope to fill in the number of zoning changes that have made and some of those dash marks. And then I pulled out now this is just since I believe the end of June, we are seeing some units being built in Leelanau County, but we're nowhere near that goal, which is to have about 2,300 units to meet the need in the between now and 2027. And I also just wanted to put some context to like who is not able to find housing in our region. And we did present some of this information at our focus groups. But if you are, say, an EMS technician or an elementary school teacher, you are basically priced out or unable to afford to rent or live here. And these numbers kind of are averages. They're not perfect, but you shouldn't be paying technically more than 30% of your income on housing. Once you get above that 30%, you're considered cost burden. And we do have quite a few people in our region, not just Leelanau, that are cost burdened and unable to afford or find a place to live or rent. Next slide, please.
So the housing budget, that would have to include taxes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It should. I mean, so there's different ways to look at it with rental versus home ownership. With rental, that doesn't necessarily include, utilities in that price. And so I just wanted to remind you that we are part of the statewide housing plan. Housing North is the lead for that plan. We do have a regional plan, and these are the 4 goals that we report to MISTA. And also a lot of these goals do relate to the work that we're doing in Leelanau County. These aren't just the 4 goals. We have many goals and strategies, but these are the 4 that we focus, and we have 3 working groups that meet quarterly to help inform the plan. So if you're not part of the regional housing plan, you can join our email list, or you can join one of these working groups. Next slide, please. So some of our key initiatives, we're providing technical support. So you've probably seen me around, but also Ryan Kilpatrick with Flywheel. They are our housing ready consultants that have been supporting Leelanau and Benzie County this year. And so we've been doing a lot of different things in Leelanau, going to meetings, but we also hosted some focus groups and have formed a collaborative with the Housing Action Committee, the Sleeping Bear Gateways Council, Leelanau Peninsula Economic Foundation, and Housing North to bring a housing plan to Leelanau County. So we're not done with the plan. I'm going to give you a few previews, but we've been collecting data and information to be able to inform this plan with the goal to bring some clear action items that we hope the County Commission will actually drive forward and help us with. So I think I mentioned the Housing Collaborative and then the Housing Action Plan. And these focus groups were really not just with individuals, but we've also been meeting with staff, planning administrators, zoning, trying to find out what really the barriers are and how we can help. Next slide, please.
You said you plan on bringing a housing action plan to the county.
Yes.
When?
Probably in November or December. We're working with updating it and working on the vision and goals with the collaborative and gathering some more information. And then we'll hopefully finalize it in October.
Bringing it to the county and asking the county for what?
We're going to present it to you and hopefully ask you for approval on some of the action items or commitment to following through on some of those action items. So some of the key takeaways from these focus groups. So there's some live links here. I couldn't get a link to the LPEF survey, but I can find that for you. But we did do a survey of Leelanau County around housing. We had about 260 people respond. Most of those people were comfortably housed or live, housed in a for sale home or a home, not a rental. So we reopened the survey and we're hoping to get more people to participate in that survey and get a broader audience. But that is still live. If you can help spread the word, that would be great. We also presented on the different barriers and challenges. So we met in 4 of the communities and we did a mapping exercise where we did focus on the areas with existing infrastructure. I'm sure you're all aware that infrastructure is an issue and a barrier to housing in our region. And so we had a lot of questions around that, but we did an exercise to ask people, we showed 6 different housing types and had them put stars where they would be comfortable with those different housing types. It was a really cool exercise. And of course, people got a little in the weeds on the land, what was on the land. We were really just trying to have it be like, where would you be okay with this? So we learned a lot from that. And we did find that residents were open to a variety of housing types. And the most popular were looking at accessory dwelling units, to duplexes, and then this idea of cottage courts or smaller square footage homes in like a neighborhood type setting. So we'll present more details on that and have a report, and you can go on our website. If you just Google Leelanau County Housing Survey, there's a lot of information on there about this.
But you looked at communities with water and sewer.
We focused on the 4 that have water and sewer. We also had,
Just 4, right?
yes, and I can show a picture. You see a picture of the map. We did have people ask if they could put a dot outside of there. And of course, if people are open to development in other parts of, Leelanau County, where, that is an opportunity. But right now, we're encouraging that development to occur near existing infrastructure, if that makes sense.
Which you will remember the development in Elmwood Township proposal, and it had all of the elements Housing North had put together. It had the water, the sewer, the transportation, they had the land, etc. So it met all the criteria, but the public said, oh no,
Well, and
not here. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge. It isn't finding these places, it's the public who want affordable housing, but really don't want it next to them. You've seen it all over.
that is certainly a barrier, yes. So next slide, please. And so these are just very draft, but I wanted to highlight some of the things that have been coming up since we started this work in 2020 and relate to Leelanau County. So we're working on a draft vision statement. Again, we're doing this work with the collaborative as well as public input, and then thinking about different action items that would actually drive forward solutions in Leelanau County. And I'm sure you've heard me and Warren Call and others mention these, but one of them is some way to leverage revenue bonds or for housing and infrastructure, encouraging communities to create policies to allow developers to use these new housing tools. And we are about to put out some information on pilots or payments in lieu of taxes and housing TIFs or tax incremental financing. That'll probably go out next week to Leelanau County units of government. And then looking at a way to fund. So funding is the biggest barrier. How can we use different resources to leverage ways to fund the gaps in these projects or create low interest loan opportunities? And then looking at creating or using the existing tools. So you have an active land bank, you have a brownfield, you have the tools in place in Leelanau, just making sure the units of government and other partners know how to use them. So these are draft and I will be bringing them in.
Payment in lieu of taxes work on housing.
That is probably something it would take me a while to go into, but it's essentially a tax abatement that a developer can apply for, and he makes a payment in lieu of those
The
taxes.
developer does it.
Yeah, and it's the property owner that gets the abatement. So next slide, please. And we can do workshops on these. We have done them in some communities when asked, where we can dive in deeper to those tools. So we got a 2% grant, which is really exciting for Leelanau County. Your county was the first one to do a rental preservation program where we partnered with a community land trust to preserve a duplex before it got flipped to a short-term rental. That loan is now being repaid and we are working with the second phase of that. So we hope in early 2025, we can revolve about $90,000 in Leelanau County. And so this is just a kind of our timeline based on the grant and when we hope to deploy those funds. So we will be working with our nonprofit partners and others to figure out where those opportunities are. Next slide, please. So ongoing, there's a lot of things I can't say we're done yet, but we've been working on and we hope to bring to you by the end of our 3 years for sure. We're working on a housing opportunity map. We're hoping to finalize the action plan. And we also are working on an economic development toolkit, which will have guiding documents for all of the units of government. And then, as I mentioned, we're getting out these example policies for housing TIF and pilots for communities to consider for adoption. And then there are some new opportunities coming, which we're today today I will be at Grand Traverse County presenting on a zoning atlas project. So if Leelanau County is interested, are grants out that we can help work with you on to bring a zoning atlas and growth corridor project to your community. So if you want to learn more about that, we can present to you, or you can just probably go online and see the Grand Traverse County presentation tonight. And that is in partnership with the University of Michigan, Michigan Association of Planning, and Flywheel companies. So next slide is my pitch for the Housing Summit. So every year we put on a Housing Summit. This is our 10th annual. We're hoping as many units of government will attend. There's a lot of sessions there, and you can get credits this year for, if you're a planner, there's educational credits. So you can still sign up. We close October 11th, and please help us spread the word. There are going to be really awesome opportunities, and there's a bus tour on day 2 to visit some of these projects, 2 of which are in Leelanau County. So we had to pick the closest projects for now, but maybe next year we'll go up north. But we'll be going to the Habitat project that is in Maple City, as well as the one on 72. Next slide, please. I think this is my last one. And this is my team. So we cover 10 counties. As of this year, we can safely say we have housing ready technical support in all 10 counties, but that is grant dependent. And I just wanted to, again, thank you for supporting the program and for being part of this journey with us. And hopefully we can bring some housing solutions to your community. And I'll be back. I will be bugging Richard and Ty to get on the agenda in November.
Darrell, I would say that you've been at the Leelanau Township at Northport and Leelanau Community Foundation a lot. There are very few township meetings that some of what you're doing is a part of the agenda.
Well, thank you. And I'm hoping to get on that agenda soon. So any help there is appreciated. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, I have.
Oh, sorry. I'm not going to leave yet.
Going back to your dashboard, you singled out emergency medical technicians and elementary school teachers. And your dashboard indicates that the average cost to own a home in Leelanau County is $4,961 a month. Is that right?
That is based on Flywheel's data that was presented in June. It may have.
I really think that's a little bit incorrect. But why did you start? I'm pro law enforcement. Okay. You got emergency medical technicians, elements. We have police officers that live outside the county because they can't afford to live.
This is just one. I picked 2 from a whole slide that Ryan had that had about 20 professions on it.
Make
Yeah.
better pay.
I'll adjust that next time. But on that slide, and we also have a chart that you can look at that shows occupations, including law enforcement, and what their wages are, and if they can afford to live, rent or own in each county. And I can tell you that Leelanau, there's a green check mark if they can, or X. Leelanau County has almost all red X's based on about 25 occupations. And I'd be happy to share that with you. But I just picked those 2, so it was random.
You know what to do.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else, Darrell? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your work.
And you may stay, but you sure don't need to. We are now down to public comments. We have 3 minutes of speaking to any item on the agenda that you might want to talk to us about. Any public comment? Mr. Mikowski.
Good morning. We had 2 presentations just before this, and I was curious. I'm looking for some documents that these people made some interesting reports, but I see no documents that the public can see or have. I find it curious that we have all these agencies doing a lot of work around here, and we have nothing for the public to see. So I'd appreciate if the commissioners could make some of these reports available to the public that were presented today that apparently are available somewhere, but we have not seen them yet. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any commissioner comment? I was just going to give Mr. Mikowski that in the executive packet that's posted online for this meeting, the Northwest Networks Northwest and the Housing North presentations were in there.
I understand that. I believe our copy should be available.
Yeah, we can follow
Should-
along.
should be available.
I'd like to add that I think it's valuable for each township to have an STR ordinance that protects our housing and neighborhoods. I know our Cleveland has one. I know several counties, several townships do. But if we could talk with our township supervisors and our township boards and encourage STR.
Thank you. Anything else, commissioners? Okay, we are down to action item number 1, the sheriff's office, the rep grant. You're dressed like winter.
Rainy out here. Couldn't stay dry. So this is, we were here in March to present the RAP grant for the restraint chair that we purchased for the jail, which is for unruly inmates or intakes that we get. We were informed recently, I think through the administrator's office, that the RAP grant was approved for $1,000, which is about a third of the cost of the chair. So it's simply just the acceptance of that money as a reimbursement.
Commissioner Retro?
I'm going to recommend the Board of Commissioners accept RAP grant funds in the amount of $1,000 to be used to offset the cost of the approved purchase of a safety restraint chair for the Leelanau County Sheriff's Office.
Or,
Any discussion?
did we already have one?
We did.
That's my question.
It was in use a lot. And it, we actually had the need several times already this year where we needed more than one.
So that was my question. So now we have two, though, two.
We do.
Working.
Correct, yes. And everyone, even the law enforcement division, is trained in its use and application. Because depending on who is unruly at the time, obviously the corrections officers may need assistance. So everybody's been through that training.
We'll just add that before you, the word wrap, I would put MMRMA in there, just so we know it's. I know what it is, but for future reference, so.
Yeah, thank you for that. And plus what risk avoidance program, I think those should be spelled out too, because when you get into acronyms, it's.
I would just say accept
practice.
MMR wrap grant,
Be a
risk
parentheses.
avoidance. We'll figure out for the final motion what to say there, but
Yeah.
that way it's not for today. We all know what it is. But
Bingo.
5 years from now, someone may not know what all that was.
Exactly. Exactly.
Great.
There's a motion on the table. All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0.
Thank you very much.
The next one.
Howard.
Yeah, well, you'll have in here, the contracts that have been completed as it relates to our towers. Thought Matt would be here. Sure, because he's probably walking over here faster than he can say. So, but this is the T-Mobile Central LLC grant, and just that we have a tower, so bill of sale between Leelanau County and T-Mobile for the equipment shelter as the central tower site, and allow the board to share deciding agreement between the approval of the council, so.
So moved.
Any discussion?
Support.
And moved and supported. Any discussion?
There it is now.
There it is.
Okay.
Just got moved and supported.
Did you run over here, Matt?
Yes, I did.
That's why he's not wet, he ran.
Yeah, I dodged them all.
This
No
building, I imagine it's probably not one that can be easily moved. Was it like, is it on?
No, the tower shelter?
And
No, that's it's on a concrete slab, approximately 12 by 20 building.
good size building. Okay.
Yeah,
So obviously obviously it's better to be used than just left there for.
yeah, it was a good resource for the county, and I think it's fortuitous that T-Mobile.
Value to it though,
It'd be more, if we were to sell it, we're not gonna get much for it, just because of the age of it.
so what about selling it to T-Mobile?
if you want to pursue a higher dollar value for that, that's up to you. I think that giving them an incentive to remain on the tower, this kind of goes along with that. I think that they feel comfortable with the partnership in Leelanau County in order to expand their services to our residents.
I do appreciate that, but we're basically giving them a billing for $1 that they would have to bill for several thousand, correct? And I appreciate, we don't want another billing on the property.
Mhm.
I guess I just would have negotiated some sort of price other than $1.
Yeah, that's-
You have vendors on the tower, and have they built their own building?
Yes, they have.
Commissioner Rush.
But as I'm reading, we were given this from Sprint at no cost.
Correct. Yeah.
And Sprint was bought out by
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile. I see your justification of that.
And we will no longer be responsible for it, which is also a good.
That was the main concern, is that we wouldn't be responsible for the maintenance of it. We don't know how good the HVAC system is that is already existing in it. We don't want to have to go back and do emergency repairs for T-Mobile when something happens.
When was it built? You say.
Ooh, this was before my time. I want to say that Sprint was on the tower in the 2000s. Yeah,
So did we stop getting monthly rent and now we're gonna get it again?
yes, this
So
will be
that's
new
also a
revenue.
bonus. We're
Yeah,
gonna
this will
start
be new
getting rent
revenue.
now. And we
Well,
no
we're gonna
longer
have to maintain it from them anyway.
No, that stopped.
They're coming on our tower.
Yeah, they will be a new lessee on our tower. Yes.
Whether or not we give them the billing for $1 or not. Am I right?
Yeah, they would have to find another location to
Bill.
pour a concrete slab and at least build a platform, which would be not enclosed.
Several $1,000s.
Commissioner
But
I
we
move
get rid
to
of a headache,
recommend-
Sorry?
but we get rid of, we have a building that we didn't pay for. Yeah, we're disposing of a building that we're not responsible for,
That has value.
very little to us. I would tell you it's
So,
very little to us because we have to
not the
maintain,
best location, but
we can agree to disagree.
storage,
Commissioner Rush. Elder.
I would move to recommend
We
that the
agree.
County Board of Commissioners approve the bill of sale between Leelanau County and T-Mobile for the equipment shelter at the Central Tower site, allow the board chairman to sign the agreement pending approval from legal counsel.
support.
I already had that. But
You
I'll
already-
take it again.
You said so.
So again, we have a motion on the table.
We did, yes.
Any last comments? All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I,
Motion approved 5-0. Okay, Matt, your performance grant.
Yes. So the federal government has passed along to the states a lesser amount for the emergency management performance grant. And the state therefore is passing along fewer dollars to the local EM programs. We don't have the specific dollar amounts yet. I did put a forecast in the EDS. It's much less than what we have been getting. And it continues to go down. We'll see what happens in the future. I know that the state police is looking to find alternative funding sources for their emergency management and homeland security division. Right now, that division is completely funded out of the EMPG grant. It's their intention to find some other budgetary dollars in order to supplement that operation in order to pass more money on to the locals for a position like mine. I don't want to get you too optimistic, but I had a conversation with a person from the state after I submitted the EDS. We may get a few more $1,000 than what is in here, but it's not going to be anything like we received last year, so.
So what part of your budget's really gonna suffer, I guess?
This would just be my salary. So this performance grant supplements my salary. So there will be more general dollars that are general fund dollars that the county will have to spend.
And how long have we been receiving this?
Since before I took over, I don't know exactly when it came into effect, but this it supplemented Tom Skronsky's salary as well. It was aimed to be 50. I think it really only targeted like 35. And now we're really down to about 5 to 7%.
Salary's gone up too. Salary's gone up and this has gone down.
Yeah, and that's across the board for the state. And unfortunately, there are other local programs that have much higher wage increases, which cut into other stuff too, but try to put on a strong face for that.
And do they say why these cuts?
Well, from the federal government, there's just less dollars to put towards the EMPG. So the federal government gets to the state and the state has to support the EMHSD division. And it's taken a lot of money out of that. So there's less to pass along to the locals. And they're trying to find different ways to correct this in the future, but it's not guaranteed it's going to happen.
Do you want to make a motion?
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners allow the chairman of the board to sign the EMPG work agreement and any other documents related to this grant agreement, and to allow the Leelanau County Office of Emergency Management to submit electronic signatures for the required quarterly reports.
Support.
Commissioner Lettner?
And in discussions, emergency management performance grant in parentheses.
Sure.
Any further concerns, questions? All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. And if you don't get your resolution that you're waiting on by the end of the week, let me know.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Andrew is here with our favorite report of the. Andrew does a favorite one, right?
This is my favorite.
Oh, good. Well, I hope I kept it acronym free, I think.
I think
We'll,
you did.
we'll see, we'll see.
Well, actually, I do have a couple of questions, but well, I'll let you present and then I'll get out.
So today I'm just presenting the annual apportionment report for your authorization. As always, I'm going to try to keep my comments brief, but feel free to jump in with questions anytime. The General Property Tax Act lays out two chief responsibilities for boards of commissioners when it comes to property assessment and taxation. The first responsibility of the board is the process of equalization. So equalization happens in the spring and is the process through which the board ensures fairness and uniformity in assessing by making sure that all property is assessed at 50% of true cash value. The second responsibility of the board is the process of apportionment. And so what that basically means is that the Board of Commissioners exercises oversight on how the overall taxable value of the county and the revenue generated by that taxable value is distributed across the various governmental units within the county. So townships, villages, cities, and then as also the tax levying authorities. So school districts, libraries, emergency services, public transit, that sort of thing. So by statute, apportionment has to occur before October 31st. So that's why I'm here at this meeting. So what exactly is apportionment? So what are you voting to authorize? What are we actually doing? Well, MCL 211.37, state of Michigan lays it out. They say that the statute says that the board at a session held not later than October 31st in each year shall examine all the certificates, statements, papers, and records submitted to it, showing the money to be raised in the several townships for school, highway, drain, township, and other purposes. And then it further says the board shall direct that the money proposed to be raised for township, school, highway, drain, and all other purposes authorized by law shall be spread upon the assessment roll of the proper townships, wards, and cities. And then further, they say that it says that this action and direction shall be entered in full upon the records of the proceedings of the board and shall be final as to the levy and assessment of all taxes, and that the direction for spread of taxes shall be expressed in terms of millages to be spread. So right now, you have the this report. So this report is, I always refer to this as the apportionment report, but the actual apportionment report itself is just the final few pages in your physical copy. The townships have to submit their documentation to me by the 30th. So in your digital copy, that went out for your packet before the 30th. So the actual apportionment report is in your physical copy. So through apportionment, you're basically providing a full accounting of the millages to be levied and the revenue to be collected. And so this was obviously in your packet, and then the millage rates are also up right now on the equalization website for people that want to download them. We get folks, sometimes they want to know what their millage rates are going to be. So we usually have a summer millage list that is up there to be downloaded as a PDF. And then also once we know what the winter millages are, we also have a PDF for that. And so that's up there now for people who may want to know. You may recall that at your last regular session on September 17th, the board approved the L4029. That's this fun guy that we do in the spring and then also in the fall. And that form just identifies all the items or programs that the county levies a millage to support. So county operations, the road commission, senior services, and then the early childhood program. So other than just the county, every tax levying authority within the county also has to fill out a 4029. They have a board meeting and they approve the millage rates that they're going to authorize and that they intend to levy. So some units set their millage rates in the spring for the July levy. Some units set those rates in the fall for the December levy. The county levies, like for example, the county levies for operations in July, but then levies for roads, seniors, and early childhood in December. So again, like the packet that's in front of you, apportionment report, but really it's just those last few pages. That's the L4402. That's the official apportionment report. That's under tab 15. That's what goes to the state of Michigan after it's authorized. And so if you want to dive deep into the millages levied in each township and the estimated revenue that each township is receiving, that information is all compiled within the 4402, and it's broken down by whether that revenue is extra voted revenue, revenue to cover debt, or allocated revenue. So that's what you're authorizing today, or I guess next week. So if you can bear with just some statistics briefly, I'll just kind of finish by just highlighting some of the things that jumped out to me in the apportionment report. So in your physical copy under tab 8 is the taxable value since 1994.
What?
It's tab 8, sorry, tab 8, yep. So between from 2023 to 2024, the taxable value in Leelanau increased from 3.6 billion to 3.9 billion. That was a 9.3% increase over that period. And then also on tab 8, the county's taxable value between 94 and 2024 has gone from about 900 million in 1994 to that 3.9 billion, billion with a B, in 2024. So that's a 325% increase from 94 to 2024. And I don't know if anyone looked at the enterprise. So you saw the article. The average sale price for a house in Leelanau County is something like $1 million. So that part of that is why why our taxable values are so high. So if you want to know why taxable values are so high, look for those articles about sale prices and look for articles about permits, because that's the way that this taxable value increases, is through sales and then through construction, people building stuff. If you flip to tab 2, this is your top 10 taxpayers in the county, or top 10 in terms of taxable value. So they represent 2.49% of the total taxable, and are spread throughout the county and in a bunch of different geographically different spaces, and then a bunch of different industries. So we have real estate, we have agriculture, retail, senior care. So it's a diverse kind of mix of different things.
Andrew, who is MF?
Yeah, that was a new one. That was a new one for me too, because that's the first time that they've appeared. That is if you're down at 72 and where 72 and 22 meet and you go head west on 72, on the right side of the road, there's a huge new,
Oh, Morgan Farms.
right, correct. So, oh, MF, right. So all of that construction is that.
They showed up in
entity.
several reports.
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Andrew, is this mix a healthy mix, or is that what you kind of just? alluded
Well,
to?
I mean, it's not based on just like one, it's not like we just have like one thing. It's not, so if something negative were to happen, it's kind of a diverse group. So, I mean, if you think about Leelanau County, yes, we tend to think of Leelanau County as like, we have, cherries and wineries and vineyards, but we also have some industry. We have industry up in Northport working with Harley Davidson. We have senior care facilities, like where my wife works. We have, all of these different industries. It's not just focused on one thing.
What is Bayberry?
I think Bayberry Group is Homestead, is that?
Yep, sorry, that was.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I think that falls under retail or,
The homestead.
so real, I think real estate.
Yeah, real estate, yeah.
When we look at like a pie, like for like vast amount of residential.
Yep.
But that's not really reflected in this.
Right, these are just our top 10 like holders of taxable value. So it's who has the highest taxable value. It's just the top 10 owners, really. So if you turn to tab 11, that's giving your breakdown based on property class. So yeah, so again, we tend to think of Leelanau County as vineyards, farms, but 89.6% of the value is from the residential class. About 6 is from commercial, about 3 is from agricultural, utility is 1.3, and then industrial is 0.4. So residential is like the vast majority of that taxable value. And then the last thing that jumped out to me is under tab 13 is kind of a mishmash of different things, but mostly deals with exemptions. And so the county contains 1,245 tax exempt parcels. That's about 5% of the total real parcels in the county. That represents, this is kind of astounding to me, but that represents 59,000 acres. And that's 38.2% of the county's total land area. But I guess that so it's 38.2% of the total acres. So it's about 60,000 acres. And that, once you kind of think about it, though, it makes sense, right? Because the largest holder of tax exempt property is the National Park Service. So all of South Manitou, all of North Manitou, that's all exempt. All of the mainland Sleeping Bear Dunes held by the U.S. government Park Service. But that number, that 60,000 acres, 38.2% of the total acres being tax exempt that's just a huge number compared to anywhere else you would go.
So Andrew, so this, when you mentioned acronyms, I said that the only acronym I think you got in here probably is your SED, which we get, but my question is more along the line of the exemptions, and I do hope you all spend some time looking at this tab 13. A lot of them are very obvious, and some are not so obvious, but I said there's a lot listed for the county, but the county itself, Leelanau County, as far as what's under the Board of Commissioners, has very few parcels. These are mostly road commission, correct? There's a lot of, if you go to, well, it's on the page.
Right. So, I mean, I'm seeing like, for example, like on Pitt Road, there's a number. I know there's some road commission, stuff up there at the top of the hill.
Yes.
Yeah, the tower, correct. Yep.
That you've got,
but this, that would include like this property that we're sitting on now would be.
Yeah, we've got this piece, we've got our parks, we might have our tower places, but like all of these listed, you've got, well, Dunsborough Road, that's our park. But there's Port Oneida, the county doesn't own anything. Westgate Forest Road, we don't. Benzonia Trail, we don't. Farmers Road, we don't. So those have got to be road commission.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we list them is right now by owner name, and we're saying County of Leelanau. So whether it's owned by like an entity within the county, that's kind of how we're, yeah,
Some of them are just turnarounds or.
right, correct.
Yeah, they're very, very tiny. You can tell by the acreage, they're very tiny. Then, my question though, sort of acronym was what, I couldn't tell what, you have 201s, you have 402s, you have 307. So how do we, they didn't track back to, you know, you've got the statute there, but like, how do we find out what a 201 is? Or I'm guessing that's a church, 402.
Yep, so those are, yeah, so that's just breaking it down based on the property class. So if it's like in the 400s, that would be a residential. 200 would be commercial. And what's kind of interesting is that we have what we call CAMA data standards now. And so, for example, you might see like a church listed under the 200 class, listed under commercial, even though it's a church. So the assessors have to class their exempt property in some way. They used to just be able to class it as like something other than one of the main property classes. They used to have an exempt class, but that kind of went away as a result of CAMA standards.
So you got 402, you say that,
So 402 would be,
residential.
yeah,
And yet all the conservancy is under 402.
correct. So the assessors have to determine like, well, what if this wasn't like exempt, if it wasn't being held by the conservancy, what would it likely
What would it
be?
be?
Yeah.
Okay. So the conservancy has put it in, and then, same with the Ottawa, yeah, just to be, okay. It is a lot of exempt.
Is there, I missed it, a compilation by entity of total cash value of exempt properties?
So
Yeah.
because they're exempt, the assessors typically don't value them, like they don't assign a value because they're exempt. So if you look on the edge here, like on the side of the page, we have what the county has done because the state wants us to report what the true cash value of these exempt properties are, just like as an estimate. We value them just kind of using like a very general metric.
I see that. I guess I just wondered, do you have, is it easy to pull a report and say, okay,
like
what's the total cash value exempt properties held by the federal government?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
It's not in this report. I didn't
Yeah.
find that. It'd be-
Correct.
it'd be interesting information for some people, I think. to
Yeah,
know.
yeah, I think the issue, I mean, the only issue there would be that we are kind of coming up with that number, and it's kind of, we're using a land value study that maybe is designed for like 20-acre parcels or 40-acre parcels, and then they've got like a 700-acre parcel, and it's like our value, we're assigning a value to it, but it's not necessarily, it may not be a good fit, but the feds.
Understand, but the data is already here.
Correct,
Numbers already been presented.
correct, yeah, I mean, we could,
All we'd be looking at is like, okay, like the total by folder.
yep, and I think that there's a,
I mean, you can add them up as best you can, but.
I think there is under tab 13, there is, let me see if
Like the first, ones listed, fully disabled veterans.
So the disabled veterans exemption is right now, so the way that it's being applied right now, it's not really an exemption, like the property itself is not exempt, but the individual, the way that the state tax commission is doing is like the individual is exempt. So that property isn't listed in this report because it's not, yeah.
Even though it's not taxed.
So if you, Commissioner Rexroth, if you look at there's this county tax credits on page, I have it as page 45, county tax credit deduction and exemption estimate request. This is what the state like asks us for.
Sure.
And so this breaks it down like real property owned by US government, state of Michigan, county, township, city, village. So that's going to give you that gives you a little bit of a rough estimate.
Yeah, so more looking specific by entity.
Okay.
Sure.
And those.
Which seems like it'd be a keystroke for someone if this exists in a spreadsheet. Just
Yeah.
It's a couple of seconds of Excel formula.
Yep, that's not.
10,000s.
Yeah.
Oh,
Roughly, there is a total, it's roughly 900 million of total exempt property.
Right.
Approximately, it'd just be nice to know of that 900, how much of that is.
So the last thing, if I may, is, so even though the state requires that county apportionment, that it has to be conducted before October 31st, the state of Michigan recognizes that there may be millage requests on the November ballot. So that if approved, those may change the apportionment report. And so there may be a revision that has to happen. And I know this year there are at least 4 millage requests on the ballot. So if those get approved, I'll have to come back before you in November to do a revision. And the 2 that are really going to be impactful for 2024 would be 2 millages in Leelanau Township. So they're asking for a renewal of their fire and emergency services millage of 3.55 mils. So that would be run 2024 to 2027. And then they're also asking for a renewal of their extra operating millage they want 0.4828 mils. And that's for covering like maintaining and operating the airport, cemeteries, parks and rec, and then planning and zoning in Leelanau Township. So depending on if those fail, then if they fail, I won't be back. But if they pass, then I have to come back and we'll do apportionment again. So
You said 4, and you just.
well, so there's Glen Lake Community School District.
Okay.
They have a bond proposal for 0.48 mils. That they're coming before the voters in 24, but it's 425. So that'll go on next year. And then TCAPS is looking for a renewal of their operating millage. And that's their current one expires in 25, but they're asking for a renewal for 26, but they're asking in 2024. And I'm guessing that's just because they want a lot of bites at the apple if it gets turned down. I don't know why they are coming so early, but that would be my guess. So that's all I have, unless there are more questions.
So the only time you'll be back in the very near future depends on what happens in November up in Leelanau Township.
Correct.
Thank you.
So we'll just do an addendum to this.
Correct.
I move to recommend to the County Board of Commissioners to approve the county apportionment report L 4402.
Support.
Any further discussion?
Just gonna tell Jill, congratulations, you made the report, so congratulations.
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you very much.
And Gail is with us now. Gail?
So,
This is my, yeah. And then we screen for affordable housing.
Good morning. As you're aware, the Brownfield Authority recommended terminating the West Shore Brownfield Plan. There is a public hearing scheduled for next Tuesday evening. And so this is a resolution to terminate the plan. If you choose to take final action after that public hearing is closed, this resolution is what you would be approving.
Any motion? Commissioner,
I move to recommend that the County Board of Commissioners forward the resolution to terminate West Shore Hotel redevelopment brownfield plan to the October 8th regular county board meeting for final action after the scheduled public hearing.
Support.
any discussion? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0.
The other item today is for the materials management plan. We are working with Grand Traverse County and Benzie County to create a joint plan. So we're just kind of moving through the process. We are at the point now where we need to approve the designated planning agency. And we have all indicated that to be Lydia Gulo from the Resource Recovery Directory in Grand Traverse County. We also have been working on the management planning committee, and I have attached that. So I think Kim, I believe, has stepped up to take, we had trouble finding an elected official from Leelanau County willing. Township.
Yeah.
So the state said we could have a county board member.
So actually, we now have 2 county, one from Grand Traverse County Commissioner and myself. in lieu of finding someone at township level in all 3 counties. It's pretty eye-opening that we could find somebody, but
Yeah.
Do we need to make that official too? Cameron's position.
well, it's, I'm part of the slate that we have to approve the whole.
Correct, yes.
Well, thank you for doing that, because you are probably the most qualified.
Well, I did apply when we were thinking of going solo as Leelanau County, and so I'm very happy to serve on this regional team. So I'll do my best.
Any discussion? Has a motion been made?
No.
Can I also, you'll notice on page 150, that number 10, the 10th is vacant, and it's a representative of a that generates a managed material. Can you speak to that a little further, Daniel? I don't know why that's so difficult.
Yeah, we're having difficulty. I believe we've reached out to Graceland Fruit, Oriana, Go-Go Squeeze, TC Refillery. We just can't get anybody to step up.
So again, I asked this board with your network of in your communities, I just can't believe we can't find somebody, and I'd love to see that again be maybe Leelanau based. It'll end up probably be Grand Traverse based because there's more possibilities, but if you think of anybody that you think might fit that bill, once a month for 5 years.
And it's not even, and they're gonna, it's not 5-year commitment anymore. They're gonna stagger them. So, you know,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, no one told me that. but-
Yeah.
A business that generates, so Oriana doesn't generate, so could it be somebody like Cherry Republic?
I mean, it's really quite broad.
Yeah.
Anybody that sends waste to the material. to
Oh,
the-
that kind of generation.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty broad.
Did you ask Cherry? Did you respond to
I'm not sure if he was asked or not. Lydia was the one who was reaching out to most of these people.
Well, if we could.
We certainly can,
Mention
yeah.
it to Lydia, could you do that, or?
Yeah.
Great, yeah, that-
Commissioner Lautner?
I move to recommend to the County Board of Commissioners appoint Lydia Lowe, Resource Recovery Director, Grand Traverse County, as the designated planning agency, the DPA, as required under Part 115, and appointing the Materials Management Planning Committee under Part 115, more specifically under MCL 324.115.72.
Support.
Any other questions? I do have one, Gail. The Solid Waste Council is a part of this, or will be. I'm worried when we went with Grand Traverse County that we may lose control over the process. And we've got a lot of people interested in composting and doing something here in Leelanau County. We don't want to lose this or just turn it over to Grand Traverse.
We're still gonna have the final, because you are the, yeah.
And if you'll notice on the list of people that are on it, we have Andy Gale, who's also a member of our Solid Waste Council. We have Mark Bevelheimer, myself. I thought there was one more, but I'm not seeing that. But anyways, we have at least 3.
So we feel.
And you're also,
I feel very good.
you're still the county approval agency, so you will be approving the plan as it goes along. Yeah.
Any other questions or concerns? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Why don't we take a break before we turn it over to our administrative reports?
Thank you.
I plan to rip right through this.
Take 5 minutes.
You were always ready to rip right through all this. Sitting there on here.
Yeah, I know. Well, so what I did was I looked through the members of the Housing Action Committee and how many of them also serve on either Housing North or on the Smith Lake Community Foundation. And it becomes, oh, this meeting. Yeah. Well, it was, we discussed that kind of, like, do we wanna let go of that connection? Or is there a reason not to? And that was.
Well, if you got a CPL, then it doesn't matter.
Really, I'll look into that.
Let me make sure your button's back on, please. We are now down to agenda item number 5. 5A.
Okay, the first one is on your desk. It's not anything you need for action, but we wanted to hand you, provide you with the bid sheet as relates to the Leelanau County pedestrian bridge surface and railing placement. I wanted you to see we had 4 vendors that provided a bid. We have, go to the second page of this, that's the base bid that we had. Then we turned around, we found a wood of ash. I know that is replaceable, because we had a question as it relates to the IPE that is being generated out of South America, but it's not replaceable or sustainable, but the ash is, but it's also. And then we have the last one that just a used treated wood. So you have all the bids that we received there. They are being evaluated, and the Leelanau Dam Authority will be meeting on Thursday, and they'll be coming back with a recommendation to provide for next Tuesday night, so we can move that forward. I just want you to see the information in advance, and we'll take it from there. As we talked about, one of the big differences between using the treated and the other type of wood is how long can something other than treated wood, how long can it last, so we don't have to come back in 15 years and redo this again. We get away with a longer period of time, and what's the value to that? So that's something for your all's consideration next week, but you'll have that ready. So we take it from there.
Commissioner Wagner?
So to back up then, talking about ash, but not locust, we talked about locust.
Well,
black locust?
there was a brown locust, but it will have to have treatment, and so we have to go in and do a treatment to that every so often. And so our consultant advised.
Black locust would have to be treated.
Yes, you have to be treated as they went through as Patrick mentioned, he learned more about wood than he thought he was going to have to learn, and that's great. But you will have to go back in and do treatment. We're trying to get away with having to do any type of treatment work or as little as possible.
Right.
Because as you know, over open water, and there's a lot of work you have to do to make sure you're meeting the regulations.
What about the, did they look at the other product?
Yeah, composite track.
Yeah.
Timber deck, he does not recommend it at all.
Who's he?
Our consultant, and
why not?
I'll let him explain that when he gets here, but he's not a fan of it, and it's not, if you're using plastic.
That lasts virtually forever.
But there was other reasons, and I have to get back to that. I'll make sure you have that reason.
Forester is wood, Trex is not wood.
Well, I will let him make sure he gives that reasoning when he does his final recommendation and report to us, okay? For you next week. Okay. Why he didn't recommend it.
Are you moving recommendation to move this forward to Tuesday?
No, you don't. I'll just add it to the agenda for next week.
As a late addition. As a late addition.
I don't have to have it as a late addition. I'll just add it.
Have I got a motion to move this forward to next week?
Support.
All those in support of that, say aye.
Aye.
Now it's on the agenda.
Thank you. So which one is being recommended? I'm not clear.
What?
Which one are you recommending?
I'm waiting
There's
for-
no committee.
No
There's no recommendation.
Not yet.
Okay.
I just want you to be aware of what the bids were.
Thank you.
Bids.
Now we've got the jail humidifier problem. Gary's here and Jerry's here.
Okay, as we talked a little bit about last week, we had the humidifier issue over at the jail. There is Gary put together, along with Jerry's thoughts as it relates to proceeding with this. Reverse osmosis equipment for the jail that can be supplied through Carl Sullivan. And what we're asking for is to waive the bidding price to go forward with this, so we can get this project done within the current year. So I will open this up for any questions you may have for Jerry and or Gary. Take it from there.
I might say, or I might add or start up that we do need this particular item. We've done a lot of research on it. And you have our samples of what happened when we
I
used.
showed them all the samples.
Oh, good, good, good. That kind of explains an awful lot because that last repair was extremely expensive. The reverse osmosis water takes out 99 point whatever percent of any debris out of boiled water. Any of that debris that doesn't get extracted, if you will cling to any metal object. And that's what you saw in our samples. It was not good.
I would move to recommend that the county board of commissioners waive its bid policy for the LAC jail humidification replacement project and approve an agreement with McCardle Culligan in an amount not to exceed $16,450.28. Funds to come from 101-225-351-970000 jail capital outlay.
Second to that motion. Second. Questions for Gary or Jerry? Yes, Commissioner Otley.
But I didn't catch it. I'm sorry if I missed it. So there is McCardle Culligan the only one with this system, or is already in the?
I need to actually say McCardle Culligan is a well-versed, very experienced company, and we've dealt with other companies here, but they take care of our water softeners here on this campus. Yes, including the drinking fountains.
So
fountain.
the what you showed us last week, was that calcium?
You see, that particular product comes with a lot of different names. Calcium would be one, lime buildup.
Mineral.
It's minerals, yeah.
So
Organic
we
matter.
have water softeners, and this is, as water is being softened, is that, so that's sending out, and that's where it's being collected?
The water is softened, okay, in both buildings. Now, we're talking about the jail only now. But what happens is when you boil water past 212 degrees, anything that's left in there will cling to anything it can. And that's the purpose of reverse osmosis water. It takes out all of the sediments and any type of micron particles out of it so that you can boil that water without destroying the equipment.
So this is the drinking water at the jail?
No,
Okay.
no, this is humidifiers
Oh, that's for
only.
the humidifier.
Yeah, now we have a water softener at the jail as well as here, and it works very well. But like I said, when you boil water past 212 degrees, temperature is pressure, pressure is temperature, and it expands. And it
So
actually,
you don't need osmosis for the drinking water.
no, no.
As I was explained to me a few weeks, that when the system was designed back when it was being built, that it didn't put in industrial strength items, they put in household strength. So
Yeah.
you have a lot more going through the system. And, so it wasn't sized, it's doing something, but it wasn't sized properly back in 2000 and
Yeah,
four and stuff like that.
it wouldn't deliver the capacity that was needed
That you
for
need
these.
in order to handle a building the size of the jail. That was the difference. You have this in your capital budget that you thought was important to get involved. And you had it at $30,000. That was an estimate. The public has come in for nearly a little bit more than half of that at this point. I did call to check with them last week before I put all this together. Of course, they did their pricing based upon a certain time. They are on, we're going to continue to honor their pricing. So they haven't changed. It's just as they. So that's where we are.
So again, this is a purchase.
And installation.
Purchase
Yes.
and installation. Is there a monthly fee or is there a maintenance agreement?
We worked out in this particular discussion that they would just take care of all of it.
What they're
No,
already doing
and
here?
we'll see in that contract or the bid, if you will. That way we have a problem with it, We just call them and then they take care of it. All of the components, the filters, the motors, the pumps and the tanks.
And what are we paying for that service?
We don't know yet.
No, this is for the installation only, it's not.
Yeah.
an ongoing, you know, we handle most, everything else under our mix. Everything else is, this is installation only of the system.
That's correct.
Everything else is at
But
this point
we
in-house.
did discuss that very issue as far as them taking care of everything, so they could give us a complete price on that.
Well, that's another whole contract.
Okay. Okay,
That's not in here.
okay, well, okay.
Osmosis system, there's no monthly fee, no. They put it in and it works.
But there's maintenance.
But see, this is commercial grade.
I mean, over time, for a year, but it wouldn't be monthly.
No,
It's not like they had to come and do things.
no.
Well,
We'll
I
get it
have
spelled
says
out.
equipment and services subtotal, but I don't see where it is the services part. All I've got here is installation. At least that's
Yeah.
what I interpret.
Commissioner Rushrow?
But we'll get that clarified for next week.
I will just make my normal comment. Are we actually adhering to our non-bid policy or are we waiving our bid policy? I'm not sure, but as I look at our actions throughout the year, I'm not sure what we really have there, so.
Well, again, we have to explain to you why we're asking you to wait, and I think we're following your policy. Do you not wish to do that? then that's fine.
There is no
maintenance with
this
thing. What?
Our policy of not following our policy, is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying all.
They have.
I'm not saying
Yeah, that's
everything.
good.
I think it makes sense if
Yeah,
you do everything
Well, I
else.
guess we'll have another
I don't
discussion
think
on
it's a
that.
good idea.
Because we
have
need to find out
multiple
exactly.
companies coming in
I don't-
to do the same.
But see, I
system.
wanted them to take care of the motors, the
Just
pumps, the
think we need
tanks
to
and
see
everything.
it.
That's part of this deal.
Yeah, that's
And
part of this
I guess
deal.
my comment beyond on when the
Some
last
filter
time.
changes
That's
and
not the
every
prices
gallon
for the
tank.
everything else they do for us.
And that's a good question.
But it's.
So, I mean, it seems like the one way to get a permanent contract here is to do one thing cheap. And then you're doing it, it just makes sense to everyone do it again after that. It's not a concept that can't be easily understood by vendors, so.
But if the system is
Why don't
put
we
in.
move this forward to next week and see if we can get that information before next week?
If the system's put in and
Doesn't
minor
matter.
services like filters and things, I mean, can't we handle that instead of
Yeah, it'd just be filters. and-
monthly?
You handle
Or
filter
we're
change,
not.
Ken.
Sure can. It's
Yeah,
just-
we can handle
handle
filter change.
And
That's what-
whatever.
Yeah,
is
that's not,
required.
that shouldn't be a holdup on this
Okay,
deal.
thank you, Jerry.
Yeah, and there should be no monthly fees on that.
No, no, not at all.
It just works.
It's a general maintenance thing and that's it. If
Yeah.
we need to purchase this to benefit
Cleanings
the building and
properly and
people
all
in
that.
So
it.
the question is then, should it go up a bit?
We've made a recommendation to you why we're asking you to waive the bid policy, and which is a part of your policy. We can make that request of you and make that recommendation per the rule changes that we made back in, I think it was in March. No, I started in April, back in May. So I believe we have that in place, that we outlined why we believe we should do this. That's where we are. If you don't agree with that, then you can.
But we have to make our best decision, and if there's a company that does it for less, especially if there's no maintenance, and there's only filter changes, should we be looking at other companies? And I don't know that there are other companies that do this kind of thing. Is there one, is there six, is there?
That's your all's call to make. We've made
That's
our
a- that's a good
recommendation to
point.
you. the staff.
Looking forward to a motion?
We have.
We have it. All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Hi.
Opposed?
I,
Motion failed.
Okay. We'll take it back to the drawing board. Thank you.
Thank you.
All set? Do you need us for anything else?
Yes.
No.
Okay, we have a B2E relay. Trees for the park. Richard?
You have in front of you, I received information from DTE, from Mr. saw the email trail that we had in there, from Chris Ackroth, about some tree planting opportunities. So there's 20 trees that they're willing to plant or donate to us for planting. And And I reached out to our Parks and Rec Chair, Mr. Whitmelt, and also the commission member, Keith. I'm gonna Benham. If this was something that could be used at a Veronic Valley, and they said it could be. So I thought it'd be a good idea to take advantage of their program, to get 20 trees planted. And there's a call, we'll have to do some coordination work, but other than that, there's 20 trees. So I'm hoping you'll accept their donation.
I'm gonna recuse myself because I have been asked by Relief to be the project forester for this project, so. I'm all in, but.
Commissioner Rexroth.
I would move to recommend to the County Board of Commissioners to accept the offer from DTE for 20 trees to be planted at Veronica Valley Park as outlined, as actually outlined, but I think it's outlined. Yeah.
Support.
Any discussion?
I'd like to ask our project forester sitting at the table this year, what kind of trees are they going to be?
They're gonna be native because that's the push for, obviously, for that particular part.
Okay, native.
They're 1.5 to 2 inch caliber, will probably get potted, not walled into the left. And a variety of.
But they're native species. So.
We'll work with Relief Michigan forester, myself, and the park staff to choose appropriate.
I mean, right now I have, property in Oakville, this is a big
White
scare.
oak, only white oak.
Yes, but still a big scare because,
And beech, and.
well, beach is coming, but that's not a very good long tree.
We'll make a good decision based on what's challenging us currently and what we see coming down the pipe.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lauder?
Couple questions. I was out of town for the September Parks and Rec meeting, but that was held before the September 18th. So this issue has not been to Parks and Rec, correct?
That's not.
When is the deadline for this?
Well, we'd like to get the plannings done this fall, if we can still do that. And knowing that
Well,
it
I see
was,
Parks and Rec is canceled for Wednesday, but I mean, this just seems like this would be an action item for Parks and Rec.
but you still need it on your agenda today to get it to next week.
Well, we could,
You understand? And they
I
understand.
understand very much, Mr. Lewis, but what I'm saying is, if we just pass this motion, it goes to next week, Parks and Rec has not approved this project. And no one Parks and Rec commissioner can approve a project such as this, as obvious as this might seem. That's my first point, so I think Parks and Rec has to meet to approve this. Is this considered a grant?
I consider it a donation.
Okay. Then still it has to be accepted by us, and that is why it is in front of us. I had read, and now I don't see, there's a letter, we have to sign for this.
So you are taking action to do this. Remember,
Well,
Parks
I
and
know,
Rec-
I'm looking for the letter. It's like it didn't say contract, I don't think, it said letter, and I'm searching again for it. So what is the?
The letter just says that you're accepting these, that you'll do.
that we will go through the
Where is
process.
that letter?
I guess we have to write it.
No,
so.
it's right here. It's on page 158.
And it says
It's
trees,
process overview. That's pretty much what you are agreeing to.
Yeah.
It's a two-page document.
Yeah.
With the contact person, the director, executive director
That
of
was
Relief
obvious.
Michigan.
That was obvious, but that wasn't what I thought they were. This is just the overview. It talks something about a letter that we're.
I have done these with Empire, Suns Bay, Northport, lots in Traverse City. What's in the letter is basically what has been outlined on page 158 and 159.
Okay, I understand that. I just wanted to see the letter because basically and pretty much and pretty close is not the same. I
We
didn't
can get that before next.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll draft that letter that they will.
like to see
They'll
that.
draft it.
Yeah, probably the one thing that maybe
Just
said there
here.
is a tree maintenance agreement.
Yep.
that you got.
watering the trees. for
Well,
the
it
years.
is native, unless it doesn't fit, then they can use some other kinds of trees and et cetera. And okay, I'll look forward to that. then.
Any other questions?
Well, I guess,
Kathy?
yes.
Would the chair recognize me? Thank you. I'm just reading the same page 158, 159. It says the municipality will be responsible for offloading the trees. So I would recommend that we make sure we have what is necessary with equipment. And it also says that we're responsible to dig the holes, and I couldn't answer if we have an auger.
So,
That I do not know.
so generally what happens is the project manager works with a community member, and over on that side of town at Ruby Ellen Farm, we did one, and can't remember the name of the farmer, but they come in about an hour and have it done. So it's a volunteer. So that's part of the team that's put together. It's not necessarily the county has to, but we do have a forklift. We do have a tractor that I assume will be available to us.
Because my question is, and it's just my risk management spidey sense, is that this is Leelanau County property, bringing volunteers on with their equipment. It might be a rider with MMRMA, just to make sure that we've got what we need. I'm just saying. And there's also a 3x6 banner will be made and acknowledge the planting. Do we pay for that, or does
No.
DTA provide that?
They pay for everything,
Okay.
but they ask that we just keep it up just to help educate people about what has happened and encourage
Okay.
people to do so on their own properties.
Okay, just looking for potential cost.
Sure.
Thank you.
I've been involved in Northport with several of these tree plantings, and it's wonderful, wonderful project. I'm going to vote yes on this motion, and I'm also going to volunteer to plant.
Excellent.
Commissioner Ludner?
Well, I'm looking for a little bit more reassurance that Parks and Recreation approves the project. Or Tuesday.
Let me ask a silly question. Why wouldn't they approve a project to plant trees? I've got to ask the question. I mean, and they aren't the final
It's
authority,
not,
they make the
it's
recommendation.
not so much, this sounds simple, it's just
It
trees.
is simple.
Okay, but what's next? So you got another park, the same thing, someone wants to donate a playground set to Old Settler, so I'm on the Old Settler, I say, sure. Well, where's it gonna go, what's it gonna cost, et cetera. That's why those things have to go to the full board. One Parks and Recreation Commission member doesn't have authority to approve anything for the parks.
They didn't say they were approving it. I asked them, the question is, do you guys want trees? Do you want some trees out there? And that's the only park I thought about that we could use for trees. You and I will
It's
disagree on
policy.
this one.
Well, that's fine. But we have policies and procedures for a reason, because while something might be simple one time, you start breaking that policy or procedure, and then the next time, what is it? You've got different, committee members approving something that they don't have the authority to approve. Same as here, so we're basically saying, yes, we're gonna override Parks and Recreation
But
if we do this.
respectfully, Parks and Rec's been doing that for a number of years, moving forward on projects that they didn't have authorization to do, so.
Which is why we've been pushing so hard for administrative support.
We've heard the concern, so.
I'd offer if the trees are not.
You need to come up here, sir.
I'm good, thank you.
Let's just vote on it.
Oh, are you calling the question?
Yes, I am. Twice in 2
All
weeks. Yes, sir.
those in support of calling the question, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We have a motion on the floor. All those in support of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved 5-1.
No, 4-1.
4-1. Oh, yes. Yep, thank you. Thank you. And I think the treasurer was announcing that he would help plant, had some equipment. But I don't want to put words in his mouth. Thank you. We now have appointments.
Couple of appointments. One of these is from the state of Michigan. They would like to have us recognize, you got the email from a home administrative coordinator for the office, the middle examiner, that they have hired. Cocker to serve as deputy medical examiner. But in order for that examiner to sign death certificates for any autopsies that may take place in Leelanau County, we have to appoint them as the deputy medical examiner. I was talking to Michelle about this a little bit last week. She doesn't know of anyone that's really done the swearing in, but it's just a process. The second one deals with the TTCI policy and technical committees. We talked a little bit about this, I think, at our last meeting. As I looked into it, your county administrator serves on the policy board. I don't think that's the wisest idea. If you looked at the membership list, I think an elected official from this board should serve on there. But on the technical committee, your county administrator could serve on the technical committee and should do that until who's going to be next. I've already told you last month that I'd be more than happy to go ahead and serve on the technical committee. My biggest thing is, and I know we've discussed this before, why it's important that we get to a full-time administrator. This is one of those things that I would not attend. I've got more things to do here than I do that. The only reason why I'm willing to go ahead and do this committee will meet late in the afternoon so that I can go to that committee meeting and then get the input, and then I'm already there. So it's not a big, this was going to take place at 1:30 in the afternoon. Then I'm not driving back to Leelanau County. Once I go there, I'm not coming back. Because that way you're being charged for me to drive 1 hour, and you don't want to do that. So that's where I'm at. If there's an individual that would like to serve on the TTCI policy board, be glad to do it, and we'll submit it in. The only time you'll have to meet is in November.
And I did reach out.
And then come November 2nd, a whole new setup will take place after that.
I did reach out to Commissioner O'Rourke, and he is willing to be our representative on that policy committee until the end of this year. And it makes sense because another member of that group is the supervisor of Elmwood Township that has worked with Rookie on several occasions.
And the grant is in our area, where, the NPO is in our area, so absolutely.
So we would have you policy, you technical,
right,
and the doctor is, we ought to have 3 separate motions, I think.
Well, there's 2 motions written down there. Well, it's all there. All I gotta do is fill in the blank.
Actually, one single motion.
Yeah, but it fills in the blanks.
We can do a division of the question.
Are you calling for division of the question?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also have a question. So is the appointment to Dr. Thomas Custer as a deputy medical examiner also expires December 31st?
No, I think that's going to be ongoing as long as he's employed by the state's medical examiner.
So
Because your medical examiner's already been appointed, I guess, down.
but she comes back how often?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's what Michelle and Richard probably talked about. I've been here how many years? I've never seen us do a motion to do a deputy medical examiner.
No, this is new, and that's why I think it should be, there should be a sunset on it, or at least have it follow. Well, if it doesn't follow exactly our medical examiner's appointment, then should it be staggered so that the deputy fills in if?
And this is all on a state level. I'm just following it, and a request has been made.
We're just gonna appoint them, we should have an end time. I
Maybe
get,
for Tuesday, we could follow up. I believe the medical examiner is a contract.
It is a
So
contract.
Kathy would have the contract terms for you.
Yes.
So we can move this particular, move that to Tuesday, you know the contract amount, then you might feel more comfortable.
What that date ends.
with this, so if you divide the question, move that portion forward and do the rest.
So we need a motion to move the motion by the question. I'm
I
not
think
sure.
we can just divide.
I don't think so. I think that's a request, does it? So then you need a motion to move the medical examiner forward to the
Tuesday.
regular Tuesday meeting and with the contract for the, so moved.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion approved 6-0.
Then, are you okay with combining the next two, which have the same sunset clause, or do you want them to
You mean
separate?
the administrator and,
Yeah.
yes,
So then,
at least it's the same
Commissioner
board.
Recruit,
I move to recommend to the county board of commissioners to appointment to the appointment of county administrator, the TTCI technical committee, and to Commissioner O'Rourke to the TTCI policy board for the remainder of 2024.
Support.
discussion. All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Lewis and Mr. O'Rourke.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
We now have 2% grants.
We're starting the process of getting 2% grants so that we can submit them and have them back before you at your November meeting. You have a listing there of grants of staff that have, and others who have requested permission to put together grant applications for your consideration at your November meeting. Commissioner Algar has updated her request that she had, and it's but you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 grants internally that are going to be looked at. As we mentioned before, these grants have to be submitted on before November consideration. So.
I just have one comment. The Solid Waste Council, again, our meeting, I believe in August, was canceled, moved to September and then canceled to October. So we haven't had a chance to talk, and we have been discussing that our #1 goal is to encourage composting in the schools. And I've been working on this for over a year, and I've been very patient. But once again, the opportunity to get some funding to support that effort will now wait another school year. And I'm just voicing my frustration. Kind of goes along with what Commissioner Lautner said, you know, when committees don't meet regularly, it's really hard for us to move forward on programs. And there's a timing issue, and I'm understanding processes with this county government, but on that list should have been, because we had that conversation, interim Administrator Lewis, we've been having that conversation since, what, July?
Everyone, everybody was given notice of this, everybody.
Gail Meyer was, but not us,
Well,
not the
okay, but-
committee, not the.
Well, I would probably, I'll have to ask, talk to Gail about that one, but I'm pretty sure that everything was in there, so.
Could she add next week?
She could.
I'm sorry. You guys get something together?
Yep, we've got it together, but we're looking for a funding mechanism.
I mean, it's up to you.
Commissioner O'Dea?
I would move to recommend the above reference departments be issued intent to apply letters authorizing the listed departments to proceed with preparation of writing grant applications to be submitted to the BOC in November 2024. Can we add to that final submissions to be finalized next week, and, you know, to allow them to get one more in?
All you're doing is, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
just add it to the list.
You can pull it next week, I mean, anyway, so you don't really need to add that. I mean, anyone could take it off the.
Well, I mean,
If
if that is the intent, then what this will happen is, if I know that is the intent, this will not be on the consent calendar.
Right.
If I say it, it won't be on the consent calendar.
And you know what, so we're not a department, so we didn't get the letter. So Richard mentioned that if I wanted hours on the agenda, I needed to send them a note. Well, when I read the packet, I thought, ooh, that was more than a note, so that's why I gave you what I gave you this morning. It's a little more.
And I had mentioned that at our last meeting that we're going through that, so I mean, we all knew it, so.
I know, we're not a department, we're not used to it.
Yeah, but you represent other areas, so.
But this wouldn't take final action until
No.
next meeting anyway, so
That is
it
correct.
doesn't impact the grant writing process.
No, it doesn't. Well, all you're doing is giving permission then to put together a grant for your
Right.
consideration to
Right.
sign.
But even to giving permission, then it-
Following your grant policy.
I'm concerned that this is a little different than we've used in the past for our external partners that Leelanau Christian Neighbors, Housing North, Habitat for Humanity. I don't know that they were on your distribution list either, and I've, they've been, the people have asked me about 2% application. Say, applications are due to the tribe on November 30th. And that would mean that we had to approve those at the November board meeting. I understand the change in the internal structure, but we've got a lot of external parties that have counted on partnering. That Christian Neighbors work closely with our food pantry to.
But they are on this list.
The senior services.
They are on the list.
Okay. And Yarrow North, Housing North asked me this morning about it. So I think we might, if this is the policy we're going to follow, we need to make sure that more than just department heads get the email.
Yeah.
I guess it's it was interesting because last spring, we got chewed on because we didn't do this the right way. So we said on October, we're gonna do it. I made sure that we announced it publicly. We'll figure it out as a working process. So,
Well, I think we're moving closer to it, but I just think we might
If-
have,
if
we might
folks-
have an issue this November. I know that Housing North,
well,
we have a contract with them right now and they want to renew that. They're doing good work and the tribe has been supportive of them. Our planning office, I don't know, Gail, you could reach out to them maybe, but our external partners are depending on us.
So what's the solution to do this again in November?
Well, this is our.
Or leave it open to
Well,
more applications?
you've got one meeting in November. And you, by your policy, we were required more or less by our auditors to say, get a more formal policy because it was so loose. He said, you gotta come to us. You got to grant permission to even start the process. And this is what you're doing. We'll have to figure that out. We're not doing well. This is not the only time that you'll do it in the spring too. So if it doesn't work right the first time, we'll try it again. So I got housing, solid waste. Where else do you want to go?
So, you know what, this isn't the final grant, this is just a letter saying you want.
Well, it's not
You're
the
gonna
final.
want to submit. Sure.
No, but under your policy, if you don't give them permission
They
to
can't
put
submit.
together a grant for your consideration and approval next month, can't do it.
So couldn't we solicit a couple of those organizations this week and have it, and have the final list next
That's
week?
fine. Glad to.
The chair, thank you. I can also look at the current contract with Housing North to see if it was written between the Board of Commissioners and Housing North, or if it was written between Planning and Housing North. Because these contracts are that you are contracting with these outside entities to perform a service that you cannot provide as a county organization. So they come to you. They could easily go to Suttons Bay Township. They could go to another municipality and use them as their vehicle to apply for 2%. It doesn't have to be us. But at the same token, housing with Yarrow, that is a contract that was written, and I have to go look at the terms. Was it between the Board of Commissioners and them, or was it between planning and them? That's how
Well,
this would come to this list is
Between planning and the
Right.
board still has to.
correct. It's still the same process.
Why don't we just get to a couple of those people that we already know about, tell them to get something in by next week?
I know we approved just a month ago our grant policy, and I know that the administrator is dealing with that policy set. Technically, the 2% applications are not grants, they're allocations.
Right.
And I think we might be creating something really messy with a very simple process that is providing some opportunity for our departments and our partners to get some of the 2% funds that are going to be allocated someplace. And so we need to make sure that as many people as we can apply for it.
But they
So to
are,
you-
but their payment of the tax is basically in the form of a grant, so I think we need to continue this process. I just caution us that the more we apply for, the less chance that there would be things that county is asking for would be awarded. So we have to bear in mind that as well, so.
And I understand that 10 years ago, this county was receiving almost no money from the tribe because we were asking for some things that the tribe didn't want to fund because they wanted to impact the community, not pay for our maintenance.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes and no. No, they had a lot of years they didn't give away much money at all. So it's based on 2%.
So let's move this forward to next week's meeting and we'll reach out to those two. Okay,
Do you want a motion for that?
So
Okay, because Gwen's motion failed, nobody ever seconded it, so. Okay, so I have
all those in
Rexbro.
support of the motion to move forward, say aye.
I made a motion.
I support it.
Ross supported it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
All those for that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
So I just have a question on your comment about allocations versus grants. That seems like a technical thing that needs to be decided, even. I have zero.
Well,
I have no idea what that means, but
I got a question mark on.
okay, so that's something that you can look into as well and see whether that even needs to be a part of our grant policy. That's it. I don't know.
Good one. And I will call Mr. Bunnick because he's the one that convinced me of that.
Okay.
Did you feel beat up?
It's not the first time in my life this board's done that, so it's okay. Okay. Bring it on, because I can give it right back.
Thank you for keeping us.
So, I think, some of these discussions are just, they're your realms, not mine. I'm just trying to get it moving. So that a month from now, you don't say, why didn't we know anything?
Right.
No.
Well, I appreciate you keeping us honest. I just want to make sure we don't. Right. Review of financials.
If I could ask Administrator Lewis to continue his
Okay.
report a little bit,
I've got one more introduction. This is Jody Logan.
that's what I was gonna ask you to
She's
do.
our county clerk, and she's here to say hi.
She's
Nice to meet you.
Jody's our account clerk.
You probably put my schedule in, okay? That much to look.
Like the snow.
It's not quite up.
Congratulations.
Thank you for hanging out. Yeah, Jody will be specializing in our payroll process in the accounting office, and she will be cross-trained with Elizabeth in AP. So
Kathy, does this mean that finance is fully staffed
I have a full staff of very qualified and enjoyable people.
and HR is fully staffed?
Correct.
So it was Jody,
Jody, Jodi,
Jennifer,
Jennifer, and I think Jennifer goes by Jen, is HR manager,
okay.
and Michael Burkmeyer. And do you prefer Michael or Mike?
Go by Mike.
Mike.
Okay, now, review of financials.
There you go.
Questions for Kathy?
I don't know where it was. The other one I was wondering about, I think it was court. Is that a third quarter for, was it district court? I don't even remember what page it was on.
Okay,
The court.
Grand Traverse County.
Yeah. Was that a third quarter?
It was August. It's a month.
Oh, that was a month. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, district court billing for audit. Okay.
Okay. Any special reports by staff, commissioners, and the subcommittees? Jen, any update?
Any update from me personally? Touch me? Yes, I will be meeting with Mary Freebed tomorrow when I return to Grand Rapids, looking for Rich to get into the TBI program there. which is huge, because it's very intense and they work on getting him back to, they stress that they like to get the patient back to 90%. So I will take whatever they can give me.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Tell us what TBI is. I'm sorry.
Traumatic brain injury.
Any other staff reports? I, at the request of Brendan Malone and the Grand Traverse Road Commission and the Grand Traverse County Commission, working on the road going in Gray Road and up to the back way. They're worrying about the next year with the construction on M22. And we probably will have a resolution to ask for some special state aid to put a stoplight and a turn lane there. And if we have that, we'll add that to next week's meeting as a late addition.
At Grandview,
What?
at.
At Gray Road.
Gray and Cedar Run.
And at.
Gray and Cedar Run,
right,
the other end,
Cedar
the other
Run.
end of Gray, okay.
That'll be the backup, will be Cedar Run and Gray, bad intersection.
And they're talking about $1.5 million to do something there that would fix that.
I know they're aware of it, so.
Well, they're aware because we've asked Grand Traverse County for years to help us alleviate that problem of dumping people out of Leelanau County into Grand Traverse County. And they've never done it.
Well, they're
We've asked
serious
for it
about it
for
now,
years.
and so we will, we
Good.
hope to bring back something next week.
Thank you for.
Public comment.
Bill's here.
Mr. Markowski?
Good morning again. Two events in the last 40 years, which are causing the centralization of government in the state. The establishment of NEMCOG, which turns out to be Network Northwest. And 10 years ago, Governor Snyder gave it $375,000 to reinvent itself and remove the county commissioners from the process of running it. Now all money flows to that organization rather than to the counties. The other one was Proposal A. Property taxes moved from the control of the counties and the local governments to the state. All centralization very similar to the Chinese Communist Party. Another matter, again, a failure this week of not seeing on the an absence of a report and a proposal to acknowledge the obvious, which was the May 11, 2021 clerk loading decision and the harm and damage it caused to the clerk's office and her staff and the county taxpayers by removing all the finances and human resources immediately from that office. So an apology resolution is very necessary by this commission to somewhat redeem itself because they've continued on this foolishness. We've now come along full circle with that foolishness from a person which would be a finance director and administrator, and now to having those two positions split. So we have now almost wasted very close to $1 million on this process with very little results. We're doing something, but we're not getting where we want it to be. And in the process, instead of planning this properly, this process was all done without a plan, no plan whatsoever. We didn't even have a plan a year later. And this commission was stuck with struggling in it and could not recognize what it was doing. And it continued, this commission, I believe, continued in the recklessness and foolishness to continue on the process. And again, I ask that you put together an apology resolution to the taxpayers and to the clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Markowski. Mr. Reasoner?
Bill Wiesner, Elmwood Township. We will not have fair elections until we have one person, one ballot, one vote, one day voting. It's absolutely true. And the results of not having this are very harmful. This handout I gave you is just brief. I didn't have time to put it all together, but I'll have it first thing tomorrow, and hopefully it'll get online here at the county. This is a result of using black box machines and the corrupt mail-in ballot voting. This is like 7 frames, and the link is there. You can go read all about it. BlackRock shorts Trump stock, gambling on his demise the same day of the second assassin attempt. And there was the second assassin. He was featured in a BlackRock ad. And so was the first assassin featured in a different BlackRock ad. These are the results of our voting system. The third one talks about the Democrats nominating this chef, this picture is there, small picture, to be a Nobel Prize winner. Also, it talks about CNN and MSNBC also being at the only Trump rallies where the attempted assassinations occurred, okay? And down at the bottom, look who's buddies with this chef, Biden. Both arms on his shoulders. Look at the next page. Cooking for Kamala. This chef cooks for Kamala too. That connection. He's also tied in the bottom of page 3 to President Zelensky to keep that war going on in Ukraine. And the last page, guess what? He's also buds with the second assassin. All this ties together. They're all working together. That's the results of our voting system. And I have at least 4 questions for all the clerks and all the board. And going to this handout from last week, that'll be part of the handout I hand in, but go to gods5stones.com. They have found absolute algorithms in New York, in New Jersey, and in Ohio, and starting with Oklahoma. They believe it's in Michigan and basically all of the states where there's a repeating algorithm, numbers of 11. It's all explained there. Check that out. Also, Rasmussen poll, I keep bringing it up, 62% thought that the election was stolen. How come the League of Women Voters, with that amount of information, wouldn't ask the one question about the election during the forum? And the Leelanau Enterprise wouldn't print my letter last week. I called them, their head guy is going to look it over again. Maybe it'll get printed this Thursday. But how come the most important issue is not being looked at? And on the back page here, the question for the clerks again, or especially Michelle, what's it called? Election source she deals with. Those guys supposedly knew about the backdoor and Dominion machines, but they're still selling them. She should talk to their guys. What about this? Give us your answer. Also, Tina Peters, who did all these studies, she's being lawfared, going to be sentenced, but her findings were true, and they didn't let her put up a defense. Another question, these charts, I don't have time to show you so much, but they show, here's the short of it. That's a stolen election right there. And that's from the cast vote records. And here's the results of it. It shows, and they're trying to limit those also. Linda Rance is, and also another question, how come all the Democrats, all these folks, Kamala and Hillary and they said these voting systems can't be trusted, but now there's total silence. What about that? What about this thing in Leelanau Township, Leelanau County and Antrim County about the voting for the Supreme Court being so off? And the simple solution is Linda Rance's and others just like it, hand counting voting. If we don't switch there, we'll have crooked elections and more dead people and a dead country. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any commissioner comment? Commissioner Rourke and then Commissioner. Elliott.
I just want to thank Mr. Lewis for the ball game at the 7th or 8th inning, and it looks like we're finally getting formation on our people for finance and HR. So, yeah, you had nothing to do with it, but we're getting it done. Thank you.
You directed it, I did it.
Thank you.
No, I didn't do it, they did it. I just sit here, just
Good job.
don't want it fixed, I will fix it. So there you go.
Thank you.
You're a humble man. We want to thank you.
No.
I'd like to, just so people know, there's a lot of question about data. And I was at the meeting and one of the comments, they did a survey. Why do we fund data? This is one of the comments in the survey. I'd like to compliment one of your bus drivers, Nikki, on the bus. She's awesome. A lot of us older people and handicapped people can't carry our groceries. And not only did she carry the groceries to the foyer, but they also waited to her. She carried them down the steps and on the bench near the elevator. She shut off her engine, she put on her flashers, and she helped me out. She is awesome. She needs to be an employee of the month, have a plaque and maybe a gift card. Nikki is awesome. Thank you, bye. And there are lots and lots of comments like that of bus drivers and data, helping people. Gosh, you know, God forbid that's one of us one day, but it is there to help people function and maintain a normal life. We also got 6 months worth of septic inspection results, which are always enlightening. They found 73 inadequate systems in 6 months. The really interesting ones are the non-existent septic tank or effluent just going into the yard or into a swamp or over a hill. 23% were closer than 4 feet to the water table and undersized. Another 20% were significantly undersized. Inadequate size and construction, 18%. Another 10% too close to the water table. Just plain old failing, 7%. Improper tank construction, no lid, or improper material. There were 2. More isolation distance, significantly undersized, no final disposal system. So they're finding real issues. And they're cleaning up our water and they're protecting our groundwater. And they're protecting the next owner. When you buy a property, so many people come here and they don't even know what a septic system is, and they're clueless that they even have one. So this guarantees that when you buy a house, you will have a functioning septic system. Your neighbors can trust that their water is not being contaminated, and our lakes and our streams are protected as well. So they're doing good work.
Thank you. Mr. Rush?
Can I just confirm with Mr. Lewis, we still have a couple more days for the,
Don't know.
I think it's October 4th. I just want to make sure everyone knew again, we could get that QR code, get you the survey to help us provide leadership on our county parks as we redo our master plan. Appreciate it, thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? I want to echo Commissioner O'Rourke.
No.
I'm going to mark on my calendar today that for the first time in 2 years, thanks to a lot of work from the clerk's office and the treasurer's office and from Kathy and from the administrator, we are fully staffed. We have a finance department, we got an HR department, and we're going to meet this afternoon and review our budget that's been produced by that crew. So it's a day to celebrate, I think. Thank you.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Any approval of the financials?
I would move to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approve claims and accounts $109,491.02.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 6-0.
To recommend to the Board of Commissioners approve post audit $5,899,753.11.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
We will reconvene at 1 o'clock. Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
But I want to, first I want to make sure when we're coming back.
Is that today?
Do you want a full hour?
Yeah.
Do we need to take a full hour? Do people need food?
It's a posted meeting.
Oh, it was posted at 1?
I don't know the start of it, though. I didn't read the posting, so I don't know what you're starting.
Supposed to start at 11:30
Oh.
or after this meeting, but you only need to take probably a 30-minute break or however long you need to take before we start. So,
30 minutes.
okay.
So we would start our next meeting at 12:35.
All right.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
You're adjourned.
It's been fun.
The drinks you stole lunch.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.